The wind blew through the cracked windows of a mud house in the fishing village of Oguta. Every woman on the street had children tied to their backs, except Nnena. She stood in the shadows, her eyes fixed on the neighbor's compound, where a baby cried softly, sucking at its mother's breast. Nnena was 30, slim with tired eyes and long braided hair tied back with a faded blue scarf. She was beautiful once, but 10 years of waiting had washed the glow from her skin. Her wrapper hung loose around her waist, and her hands were always pressed against her flat belly, as if trying to speak to the womb that had betrayed her. That morning, her husband, Ebuka, had left again in anger. "If you cannot give me a child, what use are you to me, Nnena? What use?" His voice still rang in her ears like thunder that wouldn't stop. Ebuka was once a kind man, strong and tall, with skin like roasted palm kernel. But frustration had carved lines into his forehead and bitterness into his tongue. Nnena didn't argue anymore. She only watched him walk down the road toward the river where he worked as a boatman. Her voice had dried up with the many herbs she had drunk over the years. She had tried everything: visits to the dibia, midnight baths in bitter leaves, fasting for days, and prayers that never reached the sky. But that night would change everything. The moon hung low, red like fire. The villagers whispered that it was the night the water spirits crossed into the human world. Mothers kept their children indoors, men locked their doors, and refused to fish. But Nnena went to the river. She walked barefoot, carrying only a small gourd and a question in her heart. What have I done wrong? The trees bowed over the path, like they were hiding her from the eyes of man and spirit. Owls hooted. The air grew colder, and as she stepped into the riverbank, the water shimmered like it had swallowed the stars. Then she heard it, a voice, sweet, low, and strange. "Nnena, why do you weep where others fear to stand?" Nnena turned around. No one was there. The river bubbled gently. A light moved beneath the surface like a fish glowing in the dark. The water rose, not violently, but like it was waking from sleep. And out came a woman. She wore no clothes, only strands of cowries and seaweed wrapped around her dark, glowing body. Her hair flowed like waves, and her eyes were silver, like the moon itself. "Who are you?" Nnena whispered. The woman smiled. "I am Mmirinso, guardian of the deep. I hear the cries the world ignores." Nnena fell to her knees, her heart pounding like a drum. She wanted to run, but her legs refused. "I want a child," she said, her voice shaking. Mmirinso nodded, as though she already knew. "You will have one," she said, "but nothing in this world comes free." And Nnena's heart stopped. What must I give? The river spirit stepped closer. "Not now, not today, but when the time comes, the river will call." Then she leaned forward and placed a wet finger on Nnena's forehead. A flash of cold light shot through her. Her womb burned like it had caught fire. Mmirinso disappeared into the water. The river fell silent, and Nnena collapsed. By morning, the village would find her sleeping by the riverbank, and 9 months later, the cry of a baby would rise from her home. But the river never forgets a promise. The day Nnena gave birth, the sky turned dark at noon. Midwives screamed that the gods were angry. But Nnena, she was silent. She didn't cry, she didn't groan. She simply lay there, sweat soaking her wrapper, her hands gripping the mat as if the earth would pull her under. Then came the sound, sharp, strange, like the cry of something not fully human. The baby arrived, and every lantern in the room flickered. The child was a girl. Ebuka stood in the corner, arms folded, his face unreadable. He had returned the night before, drunk and bitter, expecting to find Nnena sick again. Instead, he found her belly full, her eyes glowing like she carried the sun. Now, the child lay in Nnena's arms, small, silent, with skin dark and smooth as river stone. Her hair was full, black and curly, unlike either of her parents. They named her Adan, but it was the midwife who first noticed something strange. "This child," she whispered. Her eyes. Adan's eyes were silver, not grey, not brown, silver like cold metal, glowing faintly even in the dark. The women exchanged fearful glances. One crossed herself, another spat on the ground. But Nnena only smiled. She knew this was the river's child. In the weeks that followed, strange things began to happen. When Adan cried, the pots in the kitchen rattled. When she laughed, fish leapt from the river near their home. Birds circled her window at dawn, singing songs no one had taught them. But it was the dreams that troubled Nnena most. Every night she saw water, endless water, and a voice calling from beneath it. "Remember our bargain." The river waits. One evening, Nnena found Adan outside, standing barefoot in the yard. She was only 6 months old, yet she stood with balance, staring up at the moon. Her silver eyes shimmered. "Ne, ne." The baby cooed, and Nnena shivered. She scooped her up quickly and rushed inside. That night, Nnena burned herbs, splashed holy water, and prayed to every god she knew. But deep in her soul, she felt the tide rising. Ebuka had changed. He now called Adani his pride, carrying her through the village, bragging that his daughter would be the star of Oguta. But he never asked how the child had come. He never wondered why Nnena's belly had swelled overnight. He didn't want answers, but Nnena knew she had borrowed from a power older than the land, and soon it would return to collect. By Adan's 5th birthday, whispers had begun to spread across the village. She did not fall sick like other children. No fevers, no coughs. When other kids scraped their knees, they bled. When Adan fell from a tree, she stood up laughing. No scratch, no scar. And then there were the animals. Goats refused to bleat when she passed. Dogs lay down before her. Even the wild monkey that had terrorized the village market bowed its head when it saw her. One day, Mama Obi, the oldest woman in Oguta, pointed her bony finger and muttered, "That one is not like us. Her feet walk here, but her soul swims below." Nnena heard the rumors. She stayed quiet. But each night, her pillow soaked with tears. She had raised Adana with love, taught her how to sweep, how to greet elders, how to sing old songs. But there were some things Adan already knew without being taught. She could hum melodies no one in the village had ever heard. She could draw strange symbols in the sand with her toes. And sometimes she spoke in a language Nnena didn't understand. One rainy night, Adan woke from sleep, trembling. "Mama," she whispered, "she's calling me again." Nnena froze. "Who?" Adan's silver eyes stared up. "The lady in the water. She said it's almost time." Nnena dropped the cup she was holding. It shattered on the floor. The past returned like a flood. Her bargain, the moonlit river, the voice that promised her a child. She had begged, pleaded, sacrificed, and the spirit had answered. But promises always come with payment. The next morning, Nnena went to the river. She stood at its edge barefoot, the hem of her wrapper soaked. The water was calm. Too calm, no breeze, no ripples, just silence. "Please," she whispered, Not yet. The river gave no answer, but when she turned to go, she saw it. A mark had appeared behind Adan's ear, shaped like a spiral, glowing faintly, pulsing. The river had begun its countdown. The days following Adan's birthday passed in a haze for Nnena. She could feel the weight of the promise like a stone on her chest, growing heavier with each passing moment. Adan, however, seemed to be flourishing. Her strange abilities grew stronger. She could make the firewood dance in the wind before she touched it, and when she sang, even the elders stopped to listen, entranced by the haunting melodies that stirred something ancient in their hearts. But it was the water that called to her most. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about the river, the one that led deep into the forest, where the trees were ancient and thick with secrets. The same river that had given Nnena Adan, the river that would one day take her back. Adan's curiosity grew insatiable. Every day, as the sun sank low, she would slip away from the house and walk toward the river, barefoot, her long hair flowing behind her, like the tendrils of a spirit. One evening, as Nnena sat weaving by the fire, she heard it, the faint melody of Adan's voice, echoing in the distance. Her heart stopped. Edane was singing. It was the same song, the one that the river spirit had sung to Nnena years ago when she had made the fateful bargain. Without thinking, Nnena dropped her basket and ran toward the sound. She reached the river just as the last rays of the sun dipped below the horizon. There, standing at the water's edge, was Adan, her eyes closed, her face serene, as if in a trance. The water before her stirred, though there was no wind. Nnena, a voice whispered, a voice that sounded like the river itself, smooth and ancient. It is time. Legs trembled. She stepped forward, reaching out for her daughter. But before she could touch her, the water rose, swirling around Adan's feet. The child opened her eyes, silver and cold, and smiled, a smile that did not belong to her. It's beautiful, Mama, Adan said, her voice no longer entirely her own. The river has shown me everything. The world is not what we see. It is so much more. Tears filled Nnena's eyes as she grasped Adan's shoulders, her heart pounding with a fierce parental fear. Adan, you have to come back with me, please. But the child only looked at her, those unnatural silver eyes now flashing with something distant and untouchable. The river gave me life, Mama, but it's calling me home. I have to go. No, Nnena's voice broke. No, you're my daughter. You belong here with me. You belong with the people. The water rose higher, lapping at Adan's waist. The earth seemed to hum with an unseen energy. Nnena's world was unraveling around her, piece by piece. You can't stop this, Mama, Adan said softly, the voice of the river intertwining with hers. It is already written, we are bound to the deep. In a flash, the water surged, and Adan was swallowed by the river's depths. Nnena screamed, falling to her knees, her heart torn in two. For the first time in years, she was alone. The river was still, as if nothing had happened. The water's surface had returned to its usual placid state, hiding the secrets it had claimed. Nnena sat at the river's edge, her knees trembling beneath her, eyes fixed on the distant horizon where the sun had long since disappeared. Her heart was heavy, and yet, despite the agony of losing Adan, there was something more, something ancient stirring deep within her soul. The river had taken her daughter, but the river had also given her this child in the first place, a child who was no longer fully human, no longer fully hers. What have I done? Nnena whispered to the empty night. As the stars twinkled above, a shadow materialized beside her, a figure that seemed to emerge from the very mist of the river itself. Nnena didn't need to look to know who it was. The voice had called her once before, and it was calling her now. "Do not mourn," the voice echoed, smooth as the river's flow. "You knew this day would come." Nnena stood up slowly, her body stiff and unwilling to face the reality of her actions. "You promised me a child, and I kept my end of the bargain," she said, her voice strained. "But I didn't know she would become this. She's not the same." The figure, a shadow of the river spirit itself, extended its hand toward Nnena, its form shimmering like water caught in the moonlight. "She was always mine, Nnena. She was only ever on loan to you. You wanted a child, and I gave you one. But that child was meant for the deep. Her true nature cannot be denied." Nnena recoiled. "Then why bring her to me? Why allow me to love her if you knew this was the end?" The river spirit remained silent for a moment, its gaze piercing through Nnena, as if reading her soul. "Love is a powerful thing, Nnena. It binds us all, even across the greatest of divides. But even love cannot undo the price of a pact with the deep. The balance must be restored." The winds picked up, carrying with it the scent of the river, cold and distant. It sent a shiver through Nnena's spine, as if the earth itself was warning her. "Your daughter will return to the depths," the river spirit continued, "and in return, you must give up something in her place. The pact demands it." Nnena's breath caught in her throat. "What do you mean? What must I give up?" The river spirit's eyes, if they could be called eyes, glimmered with an otherworldly knowledge. "The time has come for you to pay the price, Nnena. One soul must remain in the deep. One soul must serve the river forever." The weight of the words crushed Nnena's heart. She fell to her knees before the spirit, tears streaming down her face. But no words came. She had been so desperate for a child, so desperate for a life to call her own. Now she understood the true cost of her wish. "I will not lose her," Nnena pleaded, her voice breaking. "She is my child. I will do anything, please, anything to keep her." The river spirit's laugh was low, like the ripple of water over rocks. "You cannot change fate, but I will offer you a chance, Nnena, a chance to save her." Nnena looked up, hope flaring within her chest. "Anything. What must I do?" The river spirit's smile was cruel. "You must offer your own soul in exchange. Return to the river and join your daughter in the deep forever." Nnena's heart skipped a beat. The offer was not one of salvation, but of sacrifice. To save Adan, she would have to leave everything behind. Her life, her village, her love, her very soul. She would be consumed by the depths of the river, never to walk the earth again. "No," Nnena whispered, shaking her head. "I can't." The river spirit's expression softened, almost pitying. "You should have thought of this before. The pact cannot be undone. You must choose. Give yourself to the river, or let your daughter remain in the deep forever." Nnena's body trembled as the weight of the decision crushed down on her. She could not bear the thought of losing Adan again, but she was terrified of the river's cold embrace. What had she truly promised all those years ago? With a final tear-filled glance toward the water, Nnena understood. The price had always been her. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a pale glow over the river that had brought so much to Nnena and taken just as much. Her heart was heavy, her body numb with the weight of the decision she had made. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of the river. the sense of the pact that had bound her soul to its depths. Nnena stood at the water's edge once more, her eyes fixed on the rippling surface. It was there, beneath the stillness, that her daughter, Adan, waited. Her sweet, innocent child, transformed by the river, now belonged to the depths. And yet, there was no choice left. The river spirit appeared beside her, its form shimmering in the night air. There was no longer any warmth in its presence, only a cold inevitability. "Are you ready?" the spirit asked, its voice a low murmur, like the rush of water over stone. Nnena nodded, her lips trembling. She had made her peace with her fate, but that did not make the sacrifice any easier. The thought of never seeing her village again, of never holding her child in her arms again, made her heart ache. But this was the price she had agreed to, and now there was no turning back. "I am ready," Nnena whispered, her voice barely audible, the spirit's eyes glowing like deep pools of water fixed on her. "Then step into the river, and your soul will be bound to its currents forever." With a deep breath, Nnena stepped forward, the cool water lapping at her ankles, then her knees, and finally rising to her waist. The water embraced her as if welcoming her home, pulling her deeper with every step. The weight of the water was not just physical, it was spiritual, as though it was pulling at her very essence. As she waded deeper, her mind swirled with memories of her life, her love for her husband, her longing for a child, the moment when she had first called out to the river for help. She thought of Adan, the joy of holding her in her arms, the pain of seeing her change. And now she was giving it all up, the love, the sacrifice, the hope. "Adan," she whispered, her voice breaking, "I'm coming." The water rose higher over her chest, her neck, until it reached her chin. She could feel the cool embrace of the river pulling at her, tugging her soul down into its depths. The river spirit's presence beside her was almost tangible now, an ancient force that had lived for eons, watching over the secrets of the water. With one last breath, Nnena let herself sink beneath the surface. And then everything went still. The world above was silent, the world below was dark, but Nnena could feel a presence in the depths, a pull, a beckoning. It was Adane. She was waiting for her mother. For a moment, Nnena was afraid. The river's embrace was cold and vast, and she felt as though she were being swallowed by it. But then, as if in response to her fear, a soft, familiar voice echoed in the darkness. "Mama, I'm here." Adan's voice was different now, strangely melodic, distant, yet still carrying the innocence Nnena remembered. The darkness around her began to shift, and there, in the gloom, she saw the silhouette of her daughter standing at the edge of the water, just as Nnena had once stood. Nnena reached out, her hands trembling as they moved through the water. "Adan," she called, her voice filled with longing and love. The child stepped forward, her form shimmering like the moonlight on the surfaces of the river. She was beautiful, but there was something otherworldly about her now. Something that made Nnena's heart ache with sorrow. "Mama, you came for me," Adan said, her voice soft and musical. "I always will," Nnena replied, her heart heavy with both love and sorrow. The river spirit watched silently from the depths, its presence ever looming. It had made its pact, and now it was time to claim what was due. Adan stepped closer to Nnena, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. The mother and daughter, reunited in the depths of the river, their love stronger than the currents that surrounded them. But then, The river spirit's voice echoed once more, cold and final. The pact has been fulfilled. Nnena turned to see the spirit rising from the water, his form growing larger, more imposing. There was no going back now. The river had claimed its due. Nnena held Adan close, her heart breaking as she whispered, I will always love you, and I will never leave you. The spirit's presence grew stronger, and the river's currents began to pull at them both, a force too strong to resist. With one final lingering glance at her daughter, Nnena closed her eyes, surrendering to the pull of the river. And so, Nnena became one with the deep, her soul forever bound to the currents that had given her child, taken her, and now held her for eternity.